Welcome to this week's edition of New York Now. I'm Dan Clark. A surprise development in the race for governor this week. New York Attorney General Letitia James ended her campaign for governor Thursday, saying she'll instead seek re-election. James announced her campaign less than 2 months ago and was Governor Kathy Hochul's closest competitor. A new Siena poll this week had James with 18% of the vote in a crowded Democratic primary. But Hochul had a firm lead in the poll, with 36% of the vote. And while the two were just at odds in the race, Hochul said there's no hard feelings and that she'll support Tish in her bid for re-election.
All I can say is I respect her tremendously, always have, that it has never been not the case, and we are going to do great things. And I look forward to having her on the ticket as we head into the November election together.
The other Democrats who've entered the race, meanwhile, have a lot of ground to make up if they're going to beat Hochul. New York City public advocate Jumaane Williams had 10% in this week's Siena poll, while Congressman Tom Suozzi had 6%. And now that large voting bloc that was backing James will be up for grabs. But something else that stood out in this poll is how voters don't know who any of these people are. Even with Governor Hochul, 30% of voters said they didn't know enough about her to have an opinion. Suozzi has it worst. 65% of voters said they don't know him. And that got me thinking that we haven't really introduced you to these candidates in a larger context. So this week, we're doing just that. Daryl Camp reports.
The 2022 Democratic primary for governor in New York has the potential to be one of the most interesting and competitive races in recent memory. When former Governor Andrew Cuomo resigned back in August, some Democrats saw that as an opening for the seat. And so far, 4 candidates have announced, but one has already ended their campaign. Nearly 2 weeks before current Governor Kathy Hochul replaced Cuomo in office, she already announced that she'd be seeking a full term next year.
I want people to believe in their government again. It's important to me that people have faith. Our strength comes from the faith and the confidence of the people who put us in these offices.
Hochul comes from Buffalo and held roles in local government before serving in Congress and being elected twice as lieutenant governor. Bob Bellafiore is a political analyst and former press secretary to Governor George Pataki, who now owns his own PR firm. He says that Hochul seems to be the clear favorite for now.
Even though she was unelected, there was only one candidate, Governor Hochul, who has the power of incumbency. And it seems to me that whatever the path may be between now and the end of next June, when the primary is, she continues to have the upper hand.
The second candidate to announce a run for the Democratic nomination was New York Attorney General Letitia James at the end of October. But James this week decided to end her campaign for governor and instead run for re-election as New York Attorney General. In a statement, James said, quote, "I have come to the conclusion that I must continue my work as Attorney General. There are a number of important investigations and cases that are underway, and I intend to finish the job. That means that for now, Hochul only has 2 competitors in next year's primary." New York City public advocate Jumaane Williams, a progressive Democrat from Brooklyn, announced his run for governor last month. He told New York Now this year that he wants to shake up Albany from the ground up.
We're trying to run for something, not necessarily against anyone. But when I ran in 2018, we said that Albany wasn't working then, and most people agreed.
Having only held city-level office compared to the state-level positions held by Hochul and James, Williams also has the challenge of name recognition. That's according to Steve Greenberg, a Siena College pollster and a former press secretary for 2 speakers of the state assembly.
I think Jumaane Williams has a platform to build on. He's won a citywide office twice. He needs to take that constituency that voted for him there and try and mobilize them.
And then there's Congressman Tom Suozzi, who entered the race in late November. He's considered to be a more moderate Democrat and is in his 3rd term in Congress. He previously held office as Nassau County Executive and was a local mayor. He also ran for governor in 2006. And so far, Suozzi has framed himself as what he calls a common-sense Democrat.
It's about trying to find the answers as to the problems that we face. I'll work with anybody. I'll work with Democrats. I'll work with Republicans. I'll work with progressives. I'll work with moderates. I'll work with anybody.
But analysts say that each candidate's performance will depend on the issues. Liz Benjamin is with Marathon Strategies, a consulting firm, and is also a former longtime Albany journalist. While crime and the pandemic are top of mind, Benjamin says other issues will come into play as well.
Economic viability, economic recovery, the supply chain, inflation. I mean, some of these things are federal in nature, but issues are certainly going to be brought to the fore at the state level.
Analysts say that we should know more about where the race for governor stands after next year's conventions in Albany. For New York Now, I'm Daryl Camp.